And joining us now is Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland. He serves on the Senate Foreign Relations, Appropriations, and Budget Committees. Senator, great to have you. Let's listen to what some of your Republican colleagues had to say about President Trump's comments about President Zelensky.
Make no mistake about it, that invasion was the responsibility of one human being on the face of this planet. It was Vladimir Putin.
It is quite clear who started the war. It was absolutely Russia at Putin's directive. I don't think that there should be any confusion with that.
Putin is a gangster. He's a gangster with a black heart. And as I've said in another context, I trust this guy like I trust gas stations sushi.
Senator, this strikes me as a rare moment where Republicans aren't on the same page. They aren't going along with President Trump. How do you see it?
Well, Ana, I think every American should be absolutely ashamed at what Donald Trump has done and said. He literally threw the Ukrainian people under the bus. He's thrown freedom-loving people around the world under the bus. I met with President Zelensky in Munich just this past weekend, along with many of my Republican colleagues, some of whose tape you just played, and we all assured him that the United States remained firm in our support for the Ukrainian people, only to have the President of the United States say that it was Ukraine that started the war, that called Zelensky the dictator rather than Putin. So I call upon my Republican colleagues not just to, snap back about the remarks of Donald Trump, but what are they going to do? We need to make material support continuing for the people of Ukraine in the face of Putin's ongoing aggression. Otherwise, our allies are going to continue to be shocked. And by the way, I urged all of them to rise to this moment. I mean, when you have an American president who's abandoning our allies, it's going to be very important, at least for these years, for Europeans to step up. Meanwhile, our adversaries, of course, are celebrating.
I mean, the Trump administration has signaled it wants concessions from Ukraine to end the war. But what should the U.S. be requiring from Russia?
Well, and here's the other part of the problem. Everybody would like to see negotiations. No one more so than the Ukrainian people if they can lead to a durable peace. I mean, that is the position of the Ukrainian people. But what the Trump administration did a number of days ago was began making unilateral concessions, right? Giving up on certain kinds of security guarantees, giving up on certain territorial issues, and then coming and literally trying to extort Zelensky and the Ukrainians, demanding over half of their mineral reserves in exchange for the support that we've already provided. I mean, can you imagine in the middle of World War II, FDR saying to Churchill, unless you give us half of your coal reserves and your mineral reserves, we're not going to stick with you in the fight against Hitler and the Nazis. That's outrageous, but that's what Trump has done.
I mean, should Ukraine have to provide something in exchange for all of the aid that's been given?
The Ukrainians are more than happy to figure out how we can have a long-term economic relationship and where they can, over time, help repay America and our European allies, by the way, who, when you look at the total dollars, have also put in almost as much as the United States to help, repay them over time. But to sit there and say, if you don't sign this document within 24 hours, you can forget all of our support. I mean, that is extortion. And I will tell you, Vladimir Putin is having his very best days right now, as is President Xi in China, watching what's happening. This is a moment, Ana, where it's not just what the president says. This reflects what he believes. This is a president who said about American combat troops who died in the line of duty that they were suckers and losers. That's the mentality he's bringing to this whole battle in Ukraine.
Senator, quickly, before I let you go, Senator Mitch McConnell just announced that he won't seek re-election in 2026. He was the Republican leader for nearly 2 decades in the Senate chamber. How will his departure impact the Senate?
Well, I just caught a piece of his sort of retirement speech indicating he's not running for re-election. Look, what you've seen from Mitch McConnell in the last few weeks was, of course, very different than Mitch McConnell when he was leader of the Republican Party. I mean, he's been liberated in a way. You saw him vote against RFK Jr. I just wish more Republicans would take the position all the time that their duty is to stand up for the Constitution and for the rule of law in America, because we're witnessing this huge amount of law breaking going on by Elon Musk and President Trump. So I hope that they will stand firm in support of the Constitution. Apparently, it requires a decision that you're no longer going to seek re-election for you to do that some of the time.